Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be making some spring and Easter cards using new products from Pretty Pink Posh. For my first card, I'll be using the grass border, butterfly border, and then I'm also using some older products, stitched butterflies, spring foliage. For a sentiment, I have the upright greetings Easter, and I'll be cutting it out using the sentiment strip die set. The pattern paper I'm using for the first card is from scrapbook.com. It's the Ombre collection. I selected this gorgeous yellow, pink, and orange background. I did use 2 sheets, so these are the same patterns. On one of them, I'll use that for the background, and for the other, I cut out 4 of the butterfly borders. This background paper is A2 size. I'll glue all 4 of the butterfly borders onto the background paper, and I'm adding them about in the same area where I cut them out so they really blend into that background, but it does add this beautiful butterfly detail. After gluing the first border down, I'll place an acrylic block on top, let that sit for a moment. Want to make sure all of the die cut borders lay nice and flat. Now I'll add the border at the very bottom. For the final 2 borders in the center, I'll lay one of them on the card. That way I can get even placement of all 4 borders. I'll glue the second from the top border down, place the acrylic block on top, then I'll adhere the final border. When I cut out the borders, some of them are a little bit wider than the A2 panel. But no worries, once I've glued them down, I'll simply flip over this panel, use a pair of scissors, and trim off the overhang. The small mat where I was gluing the die cut pieces is a cut down version of scrapbook.com's Project Grip Mat. That way if I had any glue on the overhang die cut piece, I got it on the mat instead of my workspace mat. Now I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. For a little extra detail on the background, I'm using Spellbinder's Splatter White Opaque Watercolor. I'll put just a tiny bit on an acrylic block, spray it with water, mix up the solution, then I'll gently tap my paintbrush over the background, creating this lovely white splatter. Once I'm happy with the look, I'll set aside the card. Want to make sure that dries completely. Now I'll work on the images and sentiments that will go on the background. I've already stamped the sentiment and cut out all of the die cut pieces, and I have them stored in the small stack and sort tray from scrapbook.com. I'm adding 2 of the stitched butterflies. For the very background wing piece, I cut this out from vellum. And for the top wing piece for each of the butterflies, I'm using some pink cardstock. And they are slightly different pink shades. When adhering the 2 wing pieces together, I'll only put glue behind the very center. That way I can lift up that top layer of wings for a little more dimensional look. And with my fingers, I'll even curl up the very edge of the wings. For both of the butterfly bodies, I cut this out from white glitter cardstock. For a sentiment, I'm adding spring greetings. I use black ink on white cardstock for the words, cut them out with one of the sentiment strip dies, and I'll adhere the words on a gold mirror banner die cut. To adhere the sentiments, I did put some clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back. For now, I'll set aside the sentiment and some of the smaller die cut pieces. I'll be adding a grass border at the very bottom of this panel, and I did put some clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back. The grass border is just a tiny bit wider than my card panel. After I adhere it down, I'll flip it over, use a pair of scissors, and trim off the overhang. Because this is a fairly narrow border piece, it does curve slightly. So I'm starting at the left side of the card, slowly working my way right, making sure to get the grass piece down nice and straight. To attach the 2 larger butterflies, I will be popping them up using foam dimension. I have small foam squares from scrapbook.com. This is their 1 millimeter thickness. so it'll add just a little extra dimension. I'll put the larger butterfly in the upper left-hand corner and the smaller butterfly in the lower right-hand corner. I'm adding the two banner sentiment pieces in the upper right-hand corner. The very end will be flush with the top of the card. I'll first hold the word greeting up to the card, and I have the bottom banner piece angling more right on the card. While still holding that in place, I'll flip over the card, use a pair of scissors, and trim off the overhang. Then I'll put glue on the back and attach the word greetings. Now I'll do the same thing with the word spring. This time the bottom of the banner is angled more left. Holding that banner in place, I'll trim off the overhang. Before adding the word spring down, I am putting a scrap cardstock piece on the left side, just in the area where it goes off of the greeting sentiment piece. There is still a tiny bit of the sentiment banners peeking out from the top of the card. I'll just use a pair of scissors and trim that off. In the lower left-hand corner, I'll be adding 3 yellow tulips, and the die set I use for the tulips is the spring foliage set. I cut out 3 of the stems with leaves, but I'm trimming off the top area so you'll only see the stem and 2 of the leaves. I'll put glue on the back and tuck the stem behind the grass. The very center stem is just a tiny bit taller than the other 2 stems. And the pattern paper I use for the stems and also the flowers is from the same Ombre paper pad. So I have one final stem to tuck behind the grass. Then for the 3 tulips, I will be popping them up using foam dimension. I grabbed the small foam squares from scrapbook.com in the 1mm thickness. Just put 1 foam square behind each of the tulips. I'll remove the release paper and attach them at the top of the stem. So there is my finished card. I love how this turned out. The ombre background with that hint of the butterfly borders looks like a beautiful sunrise. And since I have a habit of making multiples, I did make 2 cards. Now moving on to card design number 2. The main products I'll be using for this card are the bunny holder die set, the Easter holder additions die set, the watercolor oval stencil, upright greetings Easter, and also the sentiment strip dies. I'll start off by stenciling the background. I am using pattern paper. This is a Doodlebug Design Petite Print. It's white with some very light gray polka dots. I cut this piece to A2 size, and I'll tape it down on my workspace mat with some mint tape from scrapbook.com. I'll place the stencil on top, secure that in place with more mint tape. The ink I'm using is Distress Oxide Tumbled Glass. And I grabbed the largest size blending brush I have. This is from Spellbinders. I love using it for large areas on a stencil. It's also great when ink blending a scene background with the sky. That's why I have blue ink on this brush. I'll go over this area several times, making sure to get a nice solid color. You could add it darker in the center and gradually get lighter. I'm going more for a consistent color. So once I'm happy with that, I'll remove the stencil. Now I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut out Happy Easter. I use 2 individual words, line them up together, and stamp them on one of the sentiment strip banners. I'll be adding 2 banners in the upper left-hand corner. The slightly longer one, I use some blue cardstock, and then I'll add the sentiment banner on top, offsetting them slightly so you'll see that blue banner on the left side and underneath. I'll hold the sentiment in the upper left-hand corner, flip over the card, and trim off the overhang. Now I'll put double-sided adhesive tape on the back and a little bit of glue and adhere the sentiment banners in the upper left-hand corner. I'll set that aside for now. This card will be featuring the adorable bunny image. I love Pretty Pink Posh's holder die sets. They have so many different options now, and the bunny is a great new addition, perfect for spring or Easter cards. I did use some very light yellow plaid pattern paper for the bunny. It's from Catherine Pooler's Apothecary Plaid paper collection. For the bunny's belly, I use a very similar yellow solid cardstock. Most of it will be covered up since the bunny will be holding a basket of Easter eggs. But having the solid yellow cardstock there does add a little bit of separation. For the bunny's tail, I use some white glitter cardstock. It adds that little bit of sparkle. And since I donate many of my cards, I only use glitter cardstock that doesn't shed. For the inside of the bunny's ears, I'm using some light pink cardstock. Now I'll start working on the bunny's face. The nose and the mouth are attached with one piece, but there's also an individual nose piece, so you can have a separate color. I use black cardstock for the mouth, black cardstock for the eyes. After attaching the nose and mouth, I'll adhere the eyes, trying to make sure to get them evenly spaced. And since the eyes are fairly small, I'm picking them up with the wax tip end of Scrapbook.com's Craft Pro Pick tool. For the bunny's nose, I use a slightly darker pink cardstock. I'll add Barely Art glue down first, then pick up the nose with the Pro Pick tool. I have a little bit of time to get the nose adjusted before the glue dries. I love the option of adding whiskers. I cut these out from some white shimmer cardstock, so it has that little bit of a pearlescent finish. Since the whiskers are different lengths, when I cut them out, I put a piece of mint tape on the back of the die, then popped them through so they stick on the mint tape. So now I know when I'm adhering the whiskers, they're in the perfect order. I'll put a little bit of glue on the end of the whisker that's attached on the bunny's cheeks, and then the other end will go off of the bunny's cheeks just a tiny bit. Once I've attached the first set of whiskers, I'll work on the second set, and I'm starting with the center whisker, trying to make sure it's about the same position as the right whisker. Then I can add the final two whiskers, and I think I have them fairly evenly spaced. So there is the bunny mostly assembled, super cute. Now I'll start working on the Easter basket. On the back side of the basket, I'll add a strip of clear double-sided adhesive tape, remove the release paper, and I'm adding a little bit of grass inside the basket. And this grass piece is actually the leafy top of the carrot. I cut out 3 of them. I'll attach those down first, so it looks like the grass will be in front of the Easter eggs. After adding more tape on the back, I'll attach 3 eggs, putting the pink one in the center, an orange on the right, and a teal on the left. After attaching the Easter eggs, I'll put more clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back just to make sure everything stays together. I'll remove the release paper, put glue behind the handle and also the bottom of the basket. Now I'll attach the basket in front of the bunny, so both of his paws are holding onto the sides of the basket. I will be adding a bow, and I did use some polka dot yellow pattern paper. Glue on the back, add that bow right in front. And using the same bow die, I cut out another one, this time from some silver holographic paper. I'll add that bow right above the sentiment. I put foam dimension on the back of the bunny. I'll remove the release paper. And this is Scrapbook.com's 1/4 inch foam in the 1 millimeter thickness. Now I'll add the bunny in the center of the watercolor oval. For a final finishing touch, using a white gel pen, adding highlights inside the eyes, a little bit on the nose, and also the ears. So there is my finished card, and as I mentioned, I like to make multiples. This time I made 6. When it gets a little closer to Easter, I'll add a handwritten message on the inside, and the cards will go to residents at a nearby retirement home. For card design number 3, the main products I'll be using are the new Easter Bucket Edition die set, the Candy Bucket die set, Butterfly Border die, Easter Holder Additions die set, and for sentiment, I have the Easter Greetings stamp and coordinating dies. I will be using pattern paper for the background. This is from a very old collection by Tonic Studio. It's Dream in Color. I used a tone-on-tone blue pattern to create the sky and added a narrow strip of green cardstock at the bottom. And I've already attached this on a card base. This card will feature the Candy Bucket, and I will be making a shaker card. I cut out the bucket pieces from some pink cardstock. I've already attached the acetate on the back of the front piece. Now I'll add some foam around the edge. I'm using the 1/8 inch foam by scrapbook.com. This is the 2mm thickness. I'll remove the release paper from one of the foam strips. That way I can easily manipulate it around the curves of the candy bucket. We'll also add a strip at the very top of the bucket. That way that area doesn't dip down. Now I'll fill the bucket with the new Sugar Pop shaker beads. This is a beautiful set, has orange, pink, and green colors. I'll fill up the bucket about halfway. Pretty Pink Posh offers a fun variety of confetti and shaker bead mixes. The shaker beads have a little more weight than the confetti, and I love this sound when you shake them. I sealed the beads in place with the back piece of the candy bucket, and I didn't line mine up perfectly, so I did use a pair of scissors and trimmed off some of the area where it's peeking out. On the back side of the bucket, I'll add a piece of clear double-sided adhesive tape, and I'm attaching some of the grass, and I use the grass border die. I did trim the right and left side so the grass is staying within the bucket. I noticed another tiny bit of the bucket peeking out on the right side, so I'll use my scissors and cut that off. Now I'll add more clear double-sided adhesive tape and attach the ends of the handle. So there's the main bucket all assembled. This is such a cute design, and you could fill it with all kinds of fun goodies. If you're not a fan of shaker cards, you can still use the die set to make a non-shaker candy bucket. So now I'll place the candy bucket on the card. I love this large size. You can see how it really fills up an A2 size card. I will be putting some Easter eggs inside the bucket, and there will also be a bunny peeking out from behind the bucket. This could be the Easter bunny, or maybe it's a random bunny coming to steal the Easter eggs. Since you'll only see the ears and the top of the bunny's head, I don't have to worry about putting the eyes, nose, or mouth on the bunny. I'll use a light peach cardstock for the inside of the ears. I'll attach those on the back of the head. I did put a little bit of Barely Art glue on the back of the head to attach the ears, but to make sure it stays in place, I also added some clear tape. So once the bunny's head and ears are all assembled, now I'll put the Easter eggs inside the basket, put some clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back, and I have two different shades of orange cardstock for the eggs and a brighter pink cardstock for that center Easter egg. After adding the eggs, now I'll put the bunny behind. And I'm adding the bunny low enough so you only see that top area of the head. If I put it any higher, I would need to add at least the eyes for the bunny. So it looks a little odd on the back side, but nobody will see that once I attach this on the front of my card. I'll remove the release paper, add Barely Art glue, and add my pink candy bucket with the Easter eggs and bunny on the front of the card. For a sentiment, I'll be adding Hoppy Easter. I've already stamped and cut this out. I'll use some pink ink on white shimmer cardstock. To adhere it, I put clear tape on the back and also a little bit of glue, and I'll add the sentiment on the shaker area of the candy bucket. Also adding a bow, and I use some green glitter cardstock. And for a little extra detail, thought it would be fun to put a couple of the butterflies. I love this butterfly image and I feature it on several cards in this video. I'll put one butterfly in the upper left-hand corner, the other will be on the right side of the bucket. And for a little extra detail in the grass, I'll add 3 small white daisies. And I did pop those up with foam dimension. For a final finishing touch, I'll use a white gel pen, add highlights inside the bunny's ear and also on the Easter eggs. So there is my finished card. Love how this one turned out. The colors are so fun and perfect for Easter. For card design number 4, the main products I'll be using are the Carrot Shaker die set, the Easter Bucket Edition die set. For a sentiment, I have the Easter Greetings stamp and coordinating dies, Eyelet Rectangle dies, and the new Tiny Bows stencil set. This card will feature pattern paper from Simple Stories Color Vibe Brights collection. I've gone ahead and cut out the Eyelet Rectangle die cut from some light blue cardstock, and I'll be stenciling on the very center area just inside that faux stitch line. I want to mask off the eyelet border area, and this will also help attach it to my craft table. I'm using the 1-inch mint tape from scrapbook.com. Now I'll line up the Tiny Bow stencil, adhere that in place with more mint tape, and I'm reusing a few pieces that I used on the earlier stencil. The ink color I'm using this time is from Catherine Pooler. It's the Skylight collection. And I'll go over this entire piece to add those tiny little bows on the background. I think the Tiny Bow stencil set is perfect to use throughout the year. I'm in the mood for Easter cards right now, so that's what I'm making. But it would also be great for baby shower cards. You could do Christmas cards, birthday cards, so many different celebrations. I'll make sure to get good coverage, and you can peel back the stencil a little bit, take a peek and see if there are any areas you need to add extra ink, but I'm happy with how it looks. I'll remove all of the mint tape. Now I'll add this piece on some of the green polka dot pattern paper, and I've already attached that piece on a card base. I'll put ATG tape on the back and also some Barely Art glue along that faux stitched edge. It helps it lay nice and flat. Now I'll line up the Eyelet Rectangle with the background, trying to have an even border around it. Press it in place, and I'll also lay a large acrylic block on top for some added weight while the glue dries. And while I let that sit, I'll assemble the Carrot Shaker. I've already gone ahead and die cut out the rest of the pieces for the card, and I've attached the acetate on the back of the carrot piece. I'm using more foam strips from scrapbook.com, but this time it's the 3mm thickness, so it's slightly thicker than the 2mm I used on the other shaker. I removed the release paper so I could easily manipulate it around the curve of the carrot, and I'll also add a few pieces behind the leafy green area. The Carrot Shaker die set does include a die, so you could cut out that top leafy green area and add shaker bits, but for mine I decided only to have the shaker opening inside the main carrot. The shaker mix I'll be adding inside the carrot is the Hippity Hop mix. Now there are lots of different colors in this mix along with the white confetti pieces, but I don't want all of the colors inside my carrot, so I'll pour out a small amount in a wooden bowl. Now I'll remove the green, blue, and pink circle confetti pieces. Along with the white, I only want the yellow, light pink, peach, and orange circle pieces. And I'm not wasting the colors I'm pulling out, I'm just putting them back inside the bag. I love all the fun shaker mix options, but sometimes it's fun to customize them. So now I'll pour the shaker mix inside the carrot. I don't want it too full since I still want to see some of the cute carrot design. I'm pulling out more of the colored circle pieces. I have extra of the white confetti pieces, and I'll just add those back inside the bag. Now I'll seal that in place with the die cut piece for the back. So the frame of the carrot, I used the solid orange pattern paper, and for the background of the carrot, the area with all the shaker bits, I used the tone-on-tone orange polka dot pattern paper. Now I'll add the leafy green at the top of the carrot. I use the solid green for the main piece, and there isn't a separate piece for that green area. So I used the full carrot die, and with a pair of scissors, I cut that curve at the bottom of the leaf area. And using the green polka dot pattern paper, I cut out that smaller piece, and I'll just adhere it on top. Next, I'm wrapping some white and yellow twine around the carrot. I wrapped it around twice, tied a bow, but I decided to cut that bow, so instead I have 3 little strands on the right and left side. On top of the bow, I'll be adding a white daisy, and the daisy die is from the Easter Bucket Editions die set. I use white cardstock for the flower and light yellow cardstock for the center. Since there's lots of layers with the twine, I'll add some foam dimension behind part of the daisy using some 2mm foam from scrapbook.com. I grabbed the small rounds since I thought they were small enough to fit behind the daisy petals, but I do need to cut them in half. Then I'll add glue in the very center, and that part will sit on top of the knot. I think this carrot image looks so cute with the white daisy and yellow and white twine. After adding the flower, I realized the one petal that's sitting in front of the shaker, it was dipping down just a little bit too much, so I will add one more foam piece underneath. Trying to tuck it under there so it's not visible. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out, Easter Greetings. The ink color is Catherine Pooler's Skylight, same color I use for the bow stencil. I have foam dimension on the back. I'll remove the release paper, add the sentiment in the lower left-hand corner. And since I have a layer of twine wrapped behind the carrot, I'll also add a little bit of foam dimension using the 1mm thickness. Put some behind the leafy area and then the main carrot. Then I'll remove the release paper, add the carrot above the sentiment, and I'm putting it at an angle. For embellishments, I'm adding some ivory pearls, and these are from Pretty Pink Posh. I'll put 3 in the upper right-hand corner and 2 above the sentiment on the left side. The pearls don't have adhesive on the back, so first I'll add a small drop of Barely Art glue, and I'll pick them up using the Craft Pro Pick tool. I believe this set includes 3 different sizes of pearls, and I'm using all 3 sizes. Put that largest pearl in the upper right-hand corner and the 2 smaller sizes above the sentiment. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For the second card, I did the twine a little bit differently. I think I prefer the card I made with you with the 3 strands of twine on the right and left side of the daisy. Now moving on to card design number 5. The main products I'll be using for this card are the Build an Egg die set. This is a really cute set. Grass and butterfly border dies, and for a sentiment, the Easter Greetings stamp and coordinating dies. I will be using some pattern paper, pulled out the Dream in color, and I'll also be using some of the Wood Grains Cool from Echo Park. For the background of my card, I have some white shimmer cardstock. At the very bottom, I'll add a wide grass border. Then I cut out a second grass border. That way I can have 2 layers of grass. I'll put some clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back of the smaller grass border. And currently it is wider than this card panel. I wanted to offset it slightly so I wasn't lining up the exact border together. After adhering it down, I'll flip over the card, use a pair of scissors and trim off the overhang. Next, I'll add the wood grain panel at the bottom of the card. I love the look of wood grain pattern paper. There was a tiny bit of the grass border that I missed, so I grabbed a pair of scissors to trim it off. Now I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. When I cut out the two grass borders, I had a little bit left over, so I trimmed out two of these small grass tufts, and I'll put one on the right side and one on the left side. Put glue on the back and tuck them in underneath that back grass border. So now it's time to assemble the fun Easter eggs. For the main Easter egg, I cut these out from pattern paper, but for the decorative details, I'm using cardstock. This pattern paper is also fairly thin, so I did cut out an additional egg from some white cardstock and just glued the two pieces together, and it gives the eggs more stability. I'm starting with the largest egg, which is a light peach color. I'll add the little wavy detail, the top and bottom, and I'm using the same cardstock color for all of those pieces. And in that wider area between the two wavy pieces, I'm adding 3 white bows. I love all the fun images that are included on the die set to decorate the eggs. And you could use some of those tiny images as embellishments on your card as well. So there's the first egg all finished. Now I'll work on the blue egg. Use some darker blue cardstock for that little scallop piece at the top and bottom. After gluing that top piece down, I did lift up the egg and I'm pushing that die cut piece in place, making sure it's lined up perfectly with the curve of the egg. Using the same blue cardstock color, I'll add a stripe at the bottom of the egg. And in that wider open area, I'm adding 3 small white flowers with yellow centers. I'll adhere the flower in the center first, and put one on the right and left side, and now I'll add that tiny little center piece. First, put a drop of Barely Art glue, then pick up those tiny pieces with the Pro Pick tool. So that egg is all finished. Now on to the last egg, the purple egg. For the 2 wide bands with that little scallop border, I use a darker purple cardstock. And in that center area, I'm adding 3 teeny tiny yellow tulips. This little tulip image is so cute. I use green cardstock for the stem and leaves. I'll attach those first. I'll start with the one in the middle, then add the right and left one down. Now I'll put a tiny drop of Barely Art glue on that little circle area of the stem and attach the 3 yellow tulips. And before the glue dries completely, make sure to get those tulips lined up nice and straight. And I accidentally touched that glue on the left tulip, so I do need to add a little bit more. So there are the 3 Easter eggs all assembled. My card will also have a couple of butterflies. I've already assembled those, and 2 more small white flowers. So now I'll add the 3 Easter eggs on the card. The larger peach egg will go on the left side, the blue on the right, and the purple will go behind them. So it'll look like a stack of Easter eggs. I'll glue the purple egg down first. And for the peach and blue egg, I am popping up just the one side with foam dimension. On the side that sits on the purple egg, I'll add glue. After removing the release paper, adding glue, I'll put the peach egg on the left side. Then I'll put foam dimension behind the blue egg just on the right side. Put glue on the left side. Then I'll tuck it behind that grassy border. And I'm making sure to place it so I cover up the bottom of the purple egg. Next, I'll add the butterflies. Put one of the larger butterflies in the upper left-hand corner. One of the smaller solid yellow butterflies underneath that. And then the last larger butterfly will go on the right side. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut out Easter blessings. And I'll be adding just a little bit of ink along the outside edge. I'm using Catherine Pooler's Over Coffee ink color. I'll grab my silicone mat and a blending brush, then lightly add ink all along the outside edge of the sentiment die cut. The little bit of ink will give the sentiment more of a dimensional look. Now I'll put Barely Art glue on the back and adhere it in the center of the wood grain panel at the bottom of the card. For a final finishing touch, I'm adding the two small white flowers, one on the right side of the sentiment and the other one on the left. So there is my finished card, and I did make two using this design. The new Build an Egg die set is so fun. Love how you can customize your Easter eggs. And I think the colors on this card will be perfect for the men and women at the retirement home. Now here's another look at the 14 cards I made using Pretty Pink Posh's brand new March 2025 release. There are so many fun spring and Easter products in this release. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links in the description box below. Pretty Pink Posh never disappoints with their fun stamps, dies, stencils, and fun confetti and shaker bead mixes. It's so hard to choose a favorite from the new release. I love the bunny holder and of course anything with tulips. Let me know what's your favorite item from the latest release. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.